I've been waiting all day for this. Baron, my handsome man. Hi, human. Hey, babe. You ready? All right. Let's roll it.
So welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
You know what? It's my pleasure, and it's so funny. So we're just going to kind of jump into a conversation. When I was thinking of content and people to put on a show about Kingston community and wellness and what humans are doing within this community, the two of you popped into my mind so quickly because I just see you popping up all over the place, and I feel the impact of what it is that you're doing. So, welcome to Soul Sense, Christina and Rad, owners of Knifey Spooney.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kind introduction. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I would love for a moment. I have like my book of questions and all of the things, but I'd love for a moment for the two of you just to take a second and let us know a bit more first about you, but then also what it is that you're doing with this fantastic company that you've built.
So us as individuals, so maybe we'll go there first. Do you want to give your 30-second commercial for who you are as a person?
30-second commercial. Culinary graduate and now owner and chef extraordinaire at Knifey Spooney, and newlywed husband to this fine lady beside me here.
Congratulations. When did that happen?
September 28th.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, we kind of got lucky. I don't think we just kind of skirted by the wire here back when people could congregate in groups.
Yeah, back in like 2019 when we were allowed to hang out together. So, Christina, tell us a little bit about you.
So I should have planned that one better. So I was born in Thailand, and I've spent my life traveling the world with my family. And then I went on to become a child and youth worker and a parent. And then I became a single parent. So I became a single parent pretty much as soon as I moved to Kingston. And so I've done a bunch of different things here. I believe maybe we met very first. Were you a personal trainer at Good Life?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That was back when I sold fitness instead of cupcakes. But I've had a lot of different jobs in Kingston, all just kind of trying to break into working with food. That was kind of the first avenue to see if I could convince people to eat healthy vegan food. But I've had a lot, honestly, an easier time convincing them to eat a little bit more unhealthy vegan food.
A little bit more of the unhealthy vegan food.
Yeah. And then we met when we were working at the Sleepless Goat, and then became best friends and fell in love. And it was really apparent right away that our skills were pretty complementary. I've worked in kind of business while I was a parent, and then I, as a vegan, really saw this big need in the market and was so tired of being hungry all the time, and really wanted to, saw a need and wanted to fill it, but I didn't have the skills. And Rad was an actual chef who knew what he was doing, so it kind of became clear really soon that we should work together.
I love that. And then here you are. How long after you realized that the two of you were so complementary to one another did sort of Knifey Spooney then evolve? Because I've also been watching, we've sat and chatted before a few summers ago, and I feel like in that time I've really watched this beautiful ramp up of your company and knowing, where you started and that kind of thing too. It's such a brilliant story to watch. So how did that all come to be for the two of you?
So I suppose we first met. I was working at another restaurant downtown, and sort of got to know each other from working at a local coffee shop, Sleep with Goat, and was frequent visitor there. And Christina was working there, and then I decided to get a job working there, and sort of evolved into our friendship from there, and like a really great friendship of getting to know one another and getting to know the kids as well. And then from there, the goat ended up closing, and we both went on to work at separate jobs in Gananoque, sort of gaining more kitchen experience and biding, I guess, a little bit more time there before figuring out what we wanted to do. In the meantime, Christina was scheming and making her own sort of plans along the way.
So we so right around that time I was working at a barbecue restaurant. So as a vegan, that was like, it was great experience because I'd never worked in a kitchen before. And when the goat closed, that was the only one that served vegetarian food. So I literally lost the ability to get experience doing anything else. So I was working at this barbecue restaurant, and as I wept as I was rubbing brisket, it was just like the most motivating thing in the world to move on from there. And they were doing this Veg Fest, and it was a group that the Kingston Vegetarian Network had been really active in for a long time. And so they said, hey, do you want to just like come do a cooking demo? And we were like, yeah, no, cool. And then they said, hey, well, if you do a cooking demo, we'll give you a booth. And we were like, well, cool, but like, what are we going to do with a booth? Like, well, like, a lot of people have had success with it. So just like think about something that you could sell, and then go for it. And so I was like, okay, cool, we could sell. There's this place we had gone to in Toronto, and they sold this like slutty sandwich, and it was like barbecue pulled pork and macaroni and cheese and coleslaw on a bun, and it was so dumb. It was like so sloppy, but it was the best thing I'd ever had. So I was like, there's nothing even close to that in Kingston. Like, if you want vegan food, you're gonna have a salad, or you're gonna have like, just like, there's nothing. So I knew that people would want it, and so that's what we did. And it ended up being so huge. Like, as soon as somebody found out that we had started a business, they're like, great, I want to have a dinner party. Like, when can you do it? Like 2 days? And then our other friend was like, hey, well, I'm going to get married. Do you want to cater it in a month? And we're like, okay. So it just like, it really kind of built itself. Literally all we had to do was show up and try not to fuck it up too badly. Because like there was such a hole in the market that just somebody's got to do it. And working with the Vegetarian Network, I'd been trying for years to convince restaurants to have vegan options or for more vegan things to be in Kingston, and just like nobody wanted to do it. So I'm like, fine, you guys. Like, I wanted to give you the tools and you didn't want to take them, so now we're going to do it.
Do you find now that since you've done that, because Kingston now seems to have a surplus of places that are doing the vegan options and the plant-based menu and that kind of thing, but also Knifey Spooney is in some of those locations, right? And offering that. So how does it feel now compared to when you started, that you, I believe, kind of started this bit of a wave of that in the city?
Like, infinitely proud, because ultimately that was the goal, was to have great vegan options for everybody to enjoy. And you get great vegan options by firstly having competition. So you can be subpar if nobody's challenging you on it. But as soon as there's somebody else doing it, then you have to compete for it and up your game. So part of it is that there's now competition for the vegan dollars. They've realized that they're there and they bring all their buds that eat meat. So there's some really exciting things happening in town. Like, for us personally, one of the best choices we made was to partner with like Atomica, and they and their chef Cass just like really helped. It was such a nice symbiotic kind of relationship where we could help them come up with a vegan menu, and then they've really kind of flown with it from there. and just that was really great for us at the time because we were brand new and they're a really well established group, and so we got a lot of publicity from there, and also it was just like it was such a nice way to ease into working with restaurants. We learned a lot.
Yeah, and it's not only restaurants because like I did a little bit of social media creeping on the two of you.
Aw, my favorite thing.
It's like I mean that in a very creepy way. It's not only restaurants that you're in. You're in grocery stores in town. You're doing cooking classes. You're at festivals. You're at markets. Like where can we not find you? Essentially, you're online. You have a presence everywhere, which is just so amazing.
Yeah, we get around.
Yeah. Is there any part? Is there any piece of where you land that you love the most? Like, are music festivals the coolest place? Or these festivals in town the greatest place to land? Because then you get to be a part of the community at the same time and see everything else that's happening. Or what piece of what you do is your favorite?
That's really hard, and I bet it probably varies between us. So I'm going to say
music festivals.
Yeah. Okay. So music festivals are the most fun. We get free drinks, we get free weed, we get to trade food, we get to listen to the best music, we get to feed like our celebrity stars that are that's exciting. We get to have really great backstage adventures just by being the guys that bring some snacks. And that's really fun. It's fucking amazing. Before this, I've been a single mom working all the time. I never had money to go to those kind of things. I never had time to go to those kind of things. So now that's our job. And it's a little bit like a performance. So it's really fun. Other really great things we get to, so we do like lots of like direct to people meals, and it's become apparent that it's so much more than food that we're delivering, and the connections that we've made with some customers, and it just seems so weird to even call them customers because we're not, like, yes, we provide them food that they've paid for, but they're so much more important to us than to call them customers. Like, they're like, some of them feel like our mothers. Some of them, we've been able to nurture them with food in times that their gratitude will carry them forever. Like, they are so kind and loyal, and just like being able to provide for people during special times is like so gratifying.
I mean, especially now. So I want to come back to cannabis cooking in my mind, if I can remember that. But especially now in this time, like part of the reason we're here in this screen, and part of the reason that we've developed this through Soul Academy is to bring people together, because we are in what I hope is the first and last that we ever see in our lifetime, of a global pandemic. And so how has that affected business one way or another? Have you been busier because of that kind of thing? Those customers reaching out to you, have things sort of pulled back a little bit, like everyone else who's going through this sort of economic change right now? What does that look like for you?
I feel like currently we've definitely noticed business has increased. Sales have increased. We've definitely had to pivot our business in the meantime to make it work and to get food to people. We've started delivery, so that's really taken off and been great. People love that, and they get to see a whole new side of us running out in our PJs, and we get to see a whole new side of them in their PJs coming to pick it up too, and face masks and all, running out and bringing food out to people. So that's really made a difference, and really increased in sales. People don't want to go out, so contactless pickup and delivery has been great. Really great.
We had right as COVID was unfolding, we were set to, like, whatever kind of business term you'd want to put for leveling up. So we were going to Los Angeles, and we were going to do a food festival there. Like, I feel like the biggest festival we've ever done is maybe like 5,000 people a day, maybe 5 or 10,000 people a day. But this festival was 30,000 people a day, and it just logistically was like a spider web of having to find commercial kitchens and having to learn new food code stuff, having to pay for everything up front, just like a lot of like big kid business decisions that we were making. And I'd been planning it for like 6 months. We had been planning this, and it all it fell apart. It just, right up until the last minute, we didn't know if we were, like 2 days before this event, we were having to cancel. And so it was really humbling to realize how little control we have. And then also kind of just like trying to sit back and listen to what the universe is trying to tell us, because I was reading this book on at the top of the year about staying small in business. And I feel like a lot of business people get to a point where, like in particular for food stuff, like I've always kind of seen like once you get your stuff into like Loblaws, and that's when your product's a success or whatever. But the more we go, the less that seems like success to us. Like we don't want to have a bunch of franchise stores all over. Like we definitely would love to have try to get vegan food to as many people as possible, which is the ultimate goal about it. But just as soon as we get bigger, we have to make different choices for like the environment. So like let's say we wanted to start delivering the meals that we offer here to Vancouver. Like we could go the HelloFresh route, but like that's really wasteful. So we have been struggling, or we were struggling with trying to make choices that were, you know, we have the opportunity to grow as big as we want to, but like how big do we want to grow and why? And so with the thing in LA falling apart in all of our festivals, and it seems like every year we do festivals, we get bigger and bigger. It's just like a huge chance to give your best to a whole bunch of people. And so it's always been a good thing for our business. But having to really scale back and completely pull back to one-on-one interactions with people has really been valuable. And I feel like the universe is kind of telling us that like Kingston built you, and Kingston has sustained us by making local choices. You know, every day they have a choice. And so to choose to go with the little guys who don't have this slick packaging, or who you know might not use ingredients that keep their product in the same way, because we're small guys, like we've been able to keep like our quality up, and our customer service is as great as I think we can make it. And so we've got to be really focused on quality, and also just very clearly see what works and what doesn't.
What doesn't? I think that there's something just so beautiful in you saying that, because a lot of the time when people build a business, it's always with the idea that we're gonna grow and we're gonna do this thing, and somewhere along the line that moral dilemma or that piece comes in where you have to decide, is this what we set out to do, or is this where we're growing? So to hear you say that your decision making isn't based on the numbers in the bottom line and the things that you could have and do and all of that, it really is coming from here, just makes what you're doing even more beautiful. It makes what you're doing even more impactful. And I hope, as I'm like covered in goosebumps from your decisions and where you are, it's such a wonderful thing, because I don't think a lot of people, and maybe I'm wrong in that, would make a very similar decision when other things are being offered or dangled, or that success. It's like, you know, you can have that, but morally you're choosing maybe that's not where you want to go. And I think it goes along with, and I did take this off of your website because I love it. So Knifey Spooney aims to bring together culinary artistry with a fiery passion to change the world. And then it was just, my words underneath it are boom. Like just, that was it. It was just like this moment of like, when I read it, it's so beautiful. And I think that statement that you just made, just puts so much truth into that. And so it must feel really great knowing not only that you're doing this, but that when you lay your head down at night, it morally just feels exactly where you need it to be also. Values, which is so cool.
It's still like work in progress. We still have to work in the system that we're in. So like, we worked really hard over the last year to lessen our environmental impact. So the very last thing we did before COVID shut everything down was we went to this gigantic restaurant show in Toronto. And it's this huge trade show, and we were nominated for this Momentum Award that was national. And we were a finalist, and it was for like environmental stuff. And so we did a lot this year to try to change what we're doing, and we've had to take a lot of steps back for single-use plastics and things. Like we used to send out like our lasagnas and all of our pies and things in glassware that people could return, and change some of our production processes to have less plastic. But now with the restrictions on producing food, it's just we're using so much plastic, and there's not really a way around it. So we're a little bit bummed about that particular aspect of it, but we still feel like it's worth doing, even if it's imperfectly.
I love that. I love that. So through COVID, certain things I find in people's lives have started to surface that are more important. Certain things in people's lives we've started to detach from, realizing that they're just not necessary, or the way that we were thinking about things maybe isn't as relevant as we thought it was before this. What, both personally and from a business standpoint, what is one thing that really stands out for you that you're going to leave behind, and then something that sort of surfaced that is more important than you ever thought it was that you need to take forward?
All right, more important than I thought it was. Well, I don't know if it was ever that I didn't think that it was important, but the importance of local, the kind of going with the staying small, but further exploring our role in our food systems, and how we've taken for granted like the ability to have produce year round. We've traded it for like cardboard cutouts of what it should taste like. So we've forgotten local farmers in a bid to have cheaper, better things all year round. And I feel like when everything was shut down, people that were already shopping local had such an advantage, because they knew that their farmer was going to still have to go out and tend to those carrots, and the lettuce had already been planned for, and they just kept on producing. So whenever there's insecurity, keeping with our local systems help us all get stronger. And so we've tried as much as we can to shop local. And even just when people shop local with us, we have lots of local favorites too. So like Ron at Stone City Ales is going to get some of our money. And, local restaurants that we love, Sally's Roti is going to get some. And all the farmers at the market. So it's really how interconnected our system is really the thing that is so important, not only for our business, but just to keep our food system more secure than it's been. Like we've seen lots of people closing, and so this kind of just shows us where some of the vulnerabilities are, and it's definitely in our food systems.
That's fantastic. I think it's shown us a lot where our vulnerabilities are, independently as a community, family units, as a city. It's also shown us a lot where our strengths are too. One of the things that, we've done, I feel, in Kingston is we really have shown up for each other as a city, in what we're doing through all of this. So that's a really interesting point of view. I love that. What's one piece of the world that you realized it was in your world, but maybe you haven't had access to since, and that you maybe don't need anymore?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Like number one, pants. I don't ever want to go back to having to put on a belt or a waistband of any sort, really.
I like that.
Going outside is a really big one. I've always thought of myself as a really big extrovert, and I think I've been surprised by how joyful it is to not have to leave my house. So I feel like it's going to be real hard to get us out the door again.
I miss people, but I've learned that I've thought of myself as an extrovert with a slight, bit of introvert, but I've really settled into my routine at home. I really like it. It's a safe place to be. It's a safe place to be. Yeah. What other pieces now are you preparing, or do things have to shift for the two of you, excuse me, with reopening of things or that kind of thing? Or is there other layers that you're going to be adding on to the company because of the restrictions that we're looking at for the next little while? Does anything change for you moving forward? Or are you just going to kind of sustain where you are right now until everything opens back up again?
I mean, it's changed some things. Like this year, last year we bought a 1976 Bowler camper, and we were going to convert it into a kind of like a traveling food station, like a little bit like a food truck, but more just like a mobile station, so that we could go further and have like fridges built in and stuff. And so we'd kind of been dreaming and scheming about it since last year, and so we were going to do it this year. So definitely not that. There's just not really much of a point in putting money into something that's not going to turn into more money again for a little while. So that particular thing, real beauty in being small is that it was literally effortless for us to shift. As soon as our catering and our wedding stuff started to dry up, we just had more time to put into doing a really nice job at consistently putting out our meal stuff. For us, we've always really kind of struggled with being big kid business owners, and so this has allowed us without so many variables. So like lots of custom catering orders is what we had before, and now it's always just like we just do this one thing. So we do the farmers market and we do weekly delivery, and they happen at the same time essentially. So instead of doing like 10 different things, we're now doing one thing. And so we can do that one thing a lot better because we're not scattered. I have ADHD, and it really affects my ability to kind of organize things like that. So this particular part of the routine has been actually pretty helpful to realize where we need to step that part up.
Now, do you think moving out of this, you'll continue to just embrace that piece of like lowering what that stress or anxiety could be for you and just focusing on one direction as opposed to all of the directions? Or do you think that you'll open it back up to all of the 10 different directions in which you were moving?
Like, I thought to say that it makes sense that we would stick to one thing, but I just can't. Because I feel really motivated to try to get great vegan options into as many different places that are underserviced as possible. I couldn't possibly say no to another avenue. But we try to make good choices and not go too thin, because you have to say no sometimes. That's a real hard thing to learn.
Yeah, especially when you start out as a small company. I also share in the imposter syndrome. I share in I'm 37. I wake up every day and I'm like, who gave me a car and a house and a company? Like, when is someone going to look at me and be like, how did you get here though? Like, what? I'm not really sure. So share that a bit more, because you've referenced it twice, the sort of adult, into the adult world. So I'm happy to know I'm not the only one who feels that way when I wake up every day. But explain that a little bit more. And has it gone away or shifted, or do you still, even with all of the success, have those moments where you're like, how did we get here? What are we doing?
Oh my God, for me, for sure, because I tried really hard to get into. So when my first marriage fell apart, I really wanted to do culinary stuff, and I just couldn't do it. At that point I couldn't work with meat at all, and so I couldn't imagine going to school where the first thing you do is they like take a pig and take it apart and make it into other things, and I couldn't do that. That wasn't an option for me, and the closest place was New York City, and I had 2 little kids, and it was $30,000 tuition for a semester, and I just couldn't do it. So every single thing that we've done to get here is real bootstrappy and real learn what you need on the fly and really learn as you go. So I feel like it when we go in and teach chefs and like real nice restaurants, like those are when I feel like I know Rad always has much more confidence than I do in those situations, but we went into Aquaterra recently, and Clark Day had us out at Bayview Farms to teach their staff how to do some vegan stuff. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, please nobody look at my hands. They will know when they see me cut an onion. So for sure, I feel imposter syndrome for sure. And even before this, when I was saying that I wanted to do this, I had people say like don't call yourself a chef. You're not a chef. And like for sure that. But like, just watch me go.
Hey, I love that. Brad, what is the biggest, most important piece that you've learned in this business with Christina? What is the biggest thing you've learned in business to date in owning this company?
Definitely keep an open mind, and don't be afraid of dreaming about things. Um, and like, so far, so many things that I've dreamt about have come true, which is amazing. Keep an open mind. Always be reaching out to your community. Kingston's so small, and it's been said before, but it's so important, and it's just so plentiful. Everything you need is really like right outside your door. So I think for sure.
That's beautiful. I'm going to ask you the opposite thing, Christina. Because I'm a person who believes that every failure is actually a huge success. Everything that we fail at is a step on the path to success. So to me, failure is as important as success, if not the same thing. But when you look at Knifey Spooney, what to date is also the biggest failure that maybe you've had as a company that you've used to push you forward in another direction, or that you've used to bounce off of?
For sure. Well, this is a hard one. There are so many spectacular failures that I could choose from. Like on a just like a real basic level, really hard time being on time, and like really, it sounds so silly, but it's a very, very hard thing. We have children. Even when the children aren't here, we're not morning people. I just, so the adult parts of making sure that things happen on time has been a real struggle. I feel like we've had a couple kind of real spectacular failures. One was Flower Music Festival. So the festival was amazing, but it was just one of our first times, and we had never been there before, so we didn't really know how to plan for it. And to get off the island, you have to wait in line for like 6 hours. There's just one ferry that goes back and forth. So when it was over, we had like epically overplanned. So like by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of portions, we epically overplanned. So like in the food business, like it happens. We don't have a restaurant, so we can't just go and immediately serve it. Like sometimes we can repurpose a little bit. Oftentimes we disperse it amongst our friends. Now we work with a food sharing program, so if we have overage like that, we can give it to them and they can make sure needy people get it, which is awesome. But we couldn't at the time access any of those things, and we didn't have enough ice. And we're like, it'll be okay. And it was not okay. It was like hot July sun and 6 hours in a car. And so not just was it not edible, like when we were temping it, it was like 17 degrees above. Like it wasn't, you couldn't feed it to your dog. But then we couldn't dispose of it. It was like 60 plus pounds of like spoiled food. And we ended up having to put it in our own home compost, and it was too heavy and they wouldn't take it. And we got another compost bin, and we had to go in the middle of the night and try to oh my gosh, it was such a disaster. I feel like we're still dealing with it. 3 years later, they still haven't taken the compost bin. So that, and then just like some events, like weddings that weren't our best. Like not some, like one in particular that I just wasn't our best, but we learned so much about business from all of those things. Like firstly, we learned about planning. We learned about things that we can control and things that we can't control. And like sometimes you just kind of have to let it go. But there's other things like we know it's now non-negotiable. Like you really have to be on time for certain things. But one day we showed up for a wedding. We did a whole wedding the day before they were getting married. So we showed up I just assumed they were getting married Saturday. They weren't. So we showed up with an entire wedding service for 100 a day early. So the best lessons are the expensive ones.
It's true, because we never want to make them again.
You will not forget to double check that wedding date next time.
For anyone or for anyone who has the bug to kind of jump into the industry that you're in, or even just in business alone as an entrepreneur, what kind of advice would you have for someone thinking or trying to take a step off that ledge without absolutely anything underneath to catch them? Because we all know, I think we mostly hit the ground first and then we come back up. So we're in business now. Yeah.
Like 100% do your research. Like, if you don't have a business degree, no one's going to give it to you. Like, certainly you're going to learn some things, but also, like, for me, it was finding mentors on the internet that are great at their job, and they're usually so glorious as to just share content, and you can just pick up things that you need, whether it be social media marketing or how to build, just whatever you need to know about business. There's information for you to find it. So, like, some things are much easier to know before, but also that don't start a business until you're sure that it's going to be successful. And I suppose that maybe sounds really trite, but, like, know your market really, really well. I spent 10 years researching this market, and I knew we wouldn't fail because there's a giant hole in the market that I know really well. I'm just really up on what the industry's doing. And I knew, that Beyond Burgers were going to be huge a year before they were huge. So when they came out, we got to buy them all up. And, that really helped propel us to the next step by making good decisions, because we knew what the market was going to do before it did it.
You knew what's happening. I love that.
I don't have an MBA. It's not because of that. It's just knowing my market really well and being in this community already. So, like, they know I'm not just trying to sell them something. They know that we're experts on this particular topic.
I love that. I love that so much. I have one final question for each of you. That's, I'm just going to throw them out there. It kind of has a little bit to do with mental wellness. And I'm gonna start with Rad, because I want to know, if you had a superpower, what would it be, and how would you help people with it? How would you help humanity with it?
Oh, it's such a good one. To help humanity.
Christina's just so interestingly awaiting your response.
It's always the right time for a snack, also.
I feel like I'd be happy to jump on, like, the water sort of superhero and superpower, and be able to control water. I feel like that's, like, the classic go-to, and then I could take on, like, that surfer persona, and then, like, go sort of fill water in areas that need water most.
I love that. That's amazing. And Christine, I'm going to throw this one to you. If you were stranded on a desert island, what is the one thing you would bring with you for your mental wellness?
Oh, man. Let's see what I wrote for mental wellness.
Your journal.
Yeah, so it would be a toss-up between, like, I feel like there's lots of logistical things that wouldn't make sense if I said, like, a radio. But let's just say it could have music. I would choose probably that. Or paper. I love to write. Write letters, journal, stories, that kind of thing. Or a dog. A dog to pet would be pretty great.
That'd be pretty good. Do you have dogs at home?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
I think, wait, your dog was just fixed not long ago. And I know this because I saw you walking it around with the amazing coat on.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So this is Jack.
Oh my gosh, Jack isn't even a dog.
Yeah. And this one actually isn't a dog. This is Mama. And then Daisy, she's a rescue from the Dominican, and she's got a weird little thing on her foot that she won't stop licking, so she gets to wear the cone of shame until she can behave.
Until she can behave. Okay, that's why I saw her with the cone of shame on. My guy right now is going through such bad allergies, he has to wear T-shirts all the time, because it's like a placebo effect where he doesn't scratch if the T-shirt's on. but he'll do the opposite.
Aw, and he gets to look so stylish.
He gets to look so stylish. What are the plans for the rest of the day for the two of you on the long weekend, finally?
Well, I wish I could say something more exciting, but our schedule's kind of weird and we never get weekends off. So this year kind of catching us in the middle of our workday. So we will be going back to work. There's some more hungry people that are waiting on deliveries. And we haven't had our kids for a week, so we're going to pick them up and bring them home and probably have a fire in the backyard. We're pretty excited to burn things.
We're pretty excited to just burn things. Where can we find you in the city? I know that it's this bit of the pandemic, but where can people find you in the city right now? Grocery stores, different places, if they're looking, or how can they contact you?
The Memorial Center Farmers Market has sort of switched locations now, and it fires out of Next Church, which is at 89 Colborne Street. So that's a great way to get our food for contactless pickup directly from them. You can place an order online on their website. Maybe there's a link on our website too.
No, there's not.
There's not?
You can find us on Instagram at Knifey Spooney Kingston, or on Facebook, or Skeleton Park area. You just say, hey. We are doing weekly deliveries, so every Tuesday we release a menu, and then people put in their orders by Thursday. We deliver over the weekend some nice fresh foods to get them through the week. So we're doing lots of things for your fridge. It's like we love to cook, and we don't want to cook anything. So we just assume that people that maybe don't love to cook, like in particular, would like some freezer meals. So that's what we're doing a lot of. So like lasagnas and truffle mac and cheese, and like breakfast bagel packs you can make at home. I've been doing a lot more baking by request. So we're doing like cinnamon buns and cupcakes and things. All the healthy classics.
I'm so hungry now. That's amazing. One more thing I did want to ask you about, and I know because we had connected and chatted about it a little while ago, but is there a cannabis cooking line or a cannabis infused things coming from Knifey Spooney at any time? Is that an area that we're allowed to dabble in yet?
So we'd love to. We have gone as far as to go to Ottawa to take a course on how to do it. At the time, the legalities of it were so ridiculous that it didn't seem like something we could do. At this point, still, I feel like the real kicker is that equipment you use for cannabis must only be for cannabis production. And so for a small business, and it has to be like, right now we just go into a commercial kitchen, but it would have to be like built into a commercial kitchen because it has to be like a specific cannabis cooking part that has to be separate from all the other equipment. So just the how to actually make that work.
Shout out Kingston. We're shouting out to sponsors.
Yeah, if like anybody wants to go in on this, like there's really not vegan stuff like right now for foods, for cannabis edibles. There's really not much. I mean, I'm really excited for the time when we realize that cannabis is super non-threatening enough to just be like, you know what, they can sell cider at the farmers market, so why on earth couldn't we sell infused cupcakes? So I feel like that's at that point when we can do this without totally selling out and going corporate in order to get the production equipment we need, then that will be great. Because when we can sell it at the market or we can drop it off at people's house on a Saturday night for a party, like, how fun would that be?
Yeah. Or catering, like a cannabis-infused meal for people, also. Right? I'll have you over to my house this weekend to do it. Like,
doesn't that sound so fun?
Yeah, and then you just get to sit back and watch the party as everybody's meals start to just hit them a little bit. Yeah.
We already bring food, which makes us pretty favorite, but like.
Yeah. I mean, you can bring, I'm actually going to jump on just even talking to you about it and have a peek at some of this stuff that I may be able to get you to deliver over to my place. as well to try out. I can't thank you both enough for joining me today, because I do feel that you need more exposure. You have tons of exposure, but anything I can do to help leverage and give you more exposure in the city as well, because I love what you're doing. I love the direction you're in, the values that you bring in with it, and just who you are as people is so brilliant. And we're so lucky in Kingston to have you. So
yeah, right back at you.
Thank you so much.
That's too nice.
But I hope that soon, someday, in the next few months, when we're allowed to go back out and connect with people, I'd love to sit down, maybe follow you guys around one day with a camera and kind of do a little bit of a day in the life of what you do, and then add that to the show as well, so we can just show people how you impact the community, even just with those one-on-one interactions. The ripple effect is gorgeous. So.
And I've also wanted to do like Knifey Spooney's Stoned Kitchen, so if you ever want to bring those video skills over and be our special guest, like
I would absolutely love that. And if we're in COVID, longer, we'll just set up in the kitchens and we'll just do it this way somehow.
That would be so great. We love that.
Yeah. I hope both of you have a fantastic day. Again, I can't thank you enough, and I really look forward to seeing you in real life at some point.
Aw, thanks so much.
Thanks so much,
So nice to talk with you.
You too.